Hopefulness 2.0, August 30th. Cheesy goodness. So that right there is a modification to creamed corn that I had made. So I started making creamed corn back when I saw Alvin doing it in one of his videos. And I was like, wait, it's a bechamel with corn in it. That should be delicious, and it is. So I made it. I've made it multiple times. I now have big old bags of corn sitting in the fridge or in the freezer. So I make it every now and then. I try to utilize when I'm thinking about doing it. I'm like, okay, do I have some heavy cream? No. Okay. Should I be getting heavy cream now? Yes. No. It all depends on multiple factors. And it's something I'm going to be considering a lot more in the next couple of months because I am now unemployed again. I was terminated yesterday, and I kind of saw the writing on the wall, like it was going to happen at some point in time in the near future type thing. You know, once I got the job as a driver, like there were times I felt comfortable, but a lot of times I didn't feel comfortable driving. And maybe I should have said something, I don't know. But yesterday, well, not yesterday technically, day before yesterday, I had a very small collision when I was exiting the property. Scraped up against another vehicle, and technically what I did was a hit and run, because at least I think, well, that's what they told me anyway, because I forgot to like inform that party of the collision. I was just kind of so like caught up in everything. I'm not even sure like if I've said anything since, but like right now I'm also on workman's comp because I fell on my ass a couple weeks ago, literally 2 weeks ago. It's 2 p.m. so 2 weeks, 2 hours, and like I want to say 35 minutes ago, roughly. I'm trying to be exact, and I'm also saying exactly. So I fell on my ass. I fell on my left butt cheek. The right side of my lower back hurts. It hurts right now. It hurts standing. It hurts walking, sitting, driving. It hurts. And like on that day, on Monday, when I did in fact hit that one car, I could feel like in the back of my leg and my hamstring, like in the middle of my leg, I could feel it being like extra tight, tighter than it, you know, well, it's not usually supposed to be tight anyway. But I could feel it, the tightness in my leg, and you know, I could try to blame it on that. I could try to blame it on being tired or whatever. I don't know. But I made the mistake of not, you know, writing something down or whatever, because I was in the process of trying to go get gas and it was hot. And again, all of these are potentially causes, but at the same time, like, I still didn't do what I needed to do. And the company's like, well, we're going to have to let you go. This is, you know, something that supersedes our rules. You know, like California law is what it is, and so they had to let me go. And a number of people that I've told so far are indignant on my behalf, and I appreciate that. But there's logic in it. And even yesterday when I got to work, I was like, I'm probably going to be fired. I got there, I had to drive, blah, 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 blah. I didn't even get to eat lunch yet when I'm upstairs, and, you know, they're telling me. And, you know, fortunately, the paycheck had already been processing. And then on top of it, they cut me a check for 2 days and like 90 days of unused PTO. So, or 90 hours, not 90 days. 90 days would be great because that would be 720 hours of PTO. Nowhere near that much, but the check was about $1,400 after taxes and everything. I deposited that in there as well. So I'm sitting on enough money right now to pay for rent for 3 months, which is not a lot, especially because one of those months is coming up in 2 days. And I'm supposed to be going to fucking Buffalo in April. I've already paid for the plane ticket. I haven't technically paid for the room or the car rental. They're just waiting. And so that's like $1,000 and change right there, just between those two, that I've got to figure out. Check this, because I want to see how. So, with all that looming, like, I gotta find a way to get up to Buffalo anyway. Somehow, I'm taking the flight. The flight's booked. I'm taking the fucking flight. I gotta figure out how, but I'm gonna fucking do it. It will not be an easy thing to accomplish by any stretch. Okay, you're still not hot enough. So one thing about these ceramic bowls, they get really hot, but the stuff inside doesn't get nearly as hot as quickly. Anyway, so, and I've got like 450, 475 in my mutual fund as well. But obviously I'm applying for jobs. And I'm going back to my roots because it's the easiest route. And I'm trying to get a customer service job, but I'm trying to find something that may be a little bit better paying. Because I don't want to just work for $15 fucking an hour and bust my ass and constantly, I'll do it if I have to, but I'm trying to avoid that at the moment. Maybe once September is done and then it's October. And then I gotta figure out some shit. Who knows? But for the time being, I'm working on trying to get another customer service job. Because at the very least, I know that I appreciate working with customers. I like working with people. That's one of the things that kind of like, when I would realize throughout the last 24 hours, it's like, I don't have a job, and I have this like ache in the pit of my stomach, and it's like, I don't have anybody to talk to, really. I'm not gonna be able to have anybody to talk to. The people that I've been getting to know, even though, they're gonna be leaving in one day or another, it's like, I'm not getting that connection still. And that's rough. Because, it's a big cutoff. It's like, at least when I started working there, I didn't have much of it. So, there wasn't a whole lot of anticipation. There wasn't a lot of expectation. It was just, hey, I'm going to be not I'm not going to be working with people and whatnot. But like now, it's like, I'm not going to be seeing people. I'm not going to be around people. It's like a breakup with multiple people. There's the coworkers that I get along with. There's the clients that I get along with. There's the people in the upper echelons that I get along with. It sucks. There's this sinking sensation in the pit of my gut that is like, it's reasonable that would be a thing, that, as a person being cut off from other people in some way or another. It's reminiscent, in fact, now that I think about it, of when I was in jail. It's not the same, and it definitely isn't like nearly as strong of a sensation. But this is bacon bits that have been made by actual bacon instead of whatever the hell bacon bits are actually made of. I don't know. Maybe they're made of actual bacon with weird preservatives or something. I don't know. But I got fucking flies in here. I don't know where the hell they came from. I think, honestly, it may have had something to do with me when I had some chicken or whatever, and I was like, I had like a bunch of chicken drumsticks. There we go. I'm gonna throw in a little seasoning too, because it's a little on the bland side. I had some chicken drumsticks, and I threw them in one of the paper bags that I had, and I think that may have brought, pretty good chances anyway, I think. I also had a bag of potatoes that I had just like kept in the pantry and I completely forgot about. It might seem like a lot of pepper, but it gets masked really quickly with just all of this sauce and various other flavors. Anything else? I think I'll put in some basil. So anywho, yeah, it kind of feels like the sensation I had when I was in jail. Just that cut off feeling, and it's like, it's not as strong, but at the same time, it's nothing like normal. It's my new normal now, for now. And hopefully is not, long term. Anyway, but it is what it is. I can't change the past. I can't fix it. Hopefully nothing else comes from it. There was always a slim possibility of things getting worse. But what I did do today, because I had yesterday when I got home, I was like, all right, because it took forever to get fucking home too. Like the train system was all kinds of jacked up, and it took, I want to say, like at least an hour to go like 3 stops. Because we were like stopped at one place. I was stopped at like the Little Tokyo spot, and it was at least half an hour just sitting there. And then I get on the train, and it feels like another fucking half hours on the train. And at the same time, there's just this constant tone, this constant beep just going, and I'm like, what the fuck? Or if it was, I don't know if it was constant or not, but either way, it's fucking annoying. Trying to put it out of my mind. What this looks like now. Boom. Cheesy goodness. Yeah, so I made the typical one, and then I was like, all right, we're going from bechamel to Mornay, but this time I'm gonna put like more than half a pound of cheese in it. And I mean, I did it. I took the time and I shredded as it was sitting over the stovetop on low heat, just maintaining that heat, shredding. I got my fucking arm all jacked from it. I don't know. But yeah, so today, which is a follow-up of a thought that I had about yesterday, some water, that I figure let's go ahead and try to write the memoir, the story of my life, or whatever it is. And I had already written a good chunk of it anyway. Well, I say a good chunk, I mean like an intro. The follow-up to the question of, why are you in LA? What made you leave Texas to come to LA? Blah, blah, blah. However it's been phrased many times. It's been asked many times. And my response is always the same. It's Lady Gaga's fault. And that'll be the name of the book if I can pull it off. But, and I had already had, a pretty good chunk of like the follow-up to that, and it talks about 4chan and how that influenced it and everything. Because if you're going to tell a story, and especially if you're going to tell it in a book form, you got to kind of go a little bit beyond just the basics. You've got to build the world around. You've got to start at the beginning, but not the very beginning, but the beginning of that story, and you got to world build. And I'm hoping, maybe if I'm lucky, to get a ghostwriter to help, because they'll be better at it. So what I did today was, I'm gonna go turn the fan on. It's still hot. And this is something that I said that I was going to do for myself, because yesterday when I got home, I was like, I'm just going to rest for the rest of the day. Like, it was even before I got home. I was like, today is a day of rest. I am done with work. Work's done with me. I don't have to do work. I can just go home and rest. And instead of, hitting the ground running, as it were, type thing, give myself a chance to rest. And while, yes, I had been doing that for the last week, it was with the knowledge that I was going back to work. And of course, the first day back at work, I fuck up and I get myself fired the next day afterwards. So, it seems, in retrospect, that perhaps going back to work wasn't a good idea. I don't know. Anyway, but what I did tell myself is that tomorrow I'm going to do at least one productive thing that has a very far future goal. And that is to tell at least an introductory section of the story as to why I'm here. And in the I had already done it. I just needed to do a bit of editing. I know I'm going to have to do even more editing in the future. It's like writing is editing, and write it, edit it later kind of thing is the thing. And so what I'm doing is I'm doing a basic starter package of writing this one specific detail out to make it interesting, to make it sound interesting. And because of who I am as a person, I also recorded myself doing it so that it sounds like me when I'm telling the story. Of course, I'm going to be a little bit more gregarious. I'm going to be a little bit more presentery, because when you're telling the story in book form, if you're narrating something, it's going to be a little different than what I'm currently doing, this version of prose, if you want to call it that. I tried to maintain as much of my personality into it as possible. I even downloaded fucking Audacity, and I hate that program so much because its user interface is just terrible. Yeah, I could go back to Reaper, and I might. But it's simple enough just for editing, just for trimming the fat, as it were. But right now, that's all I need. So I did that. I wrote it out. I'd written out quite a bit. I read it out loud multiple times. I started rethinking about certain things. I added elements to the beginning of it, added elements to the end of it. I helped to bookmark it a little better. I filled out a little bit of the, and tweaked a couple of things inside the body of it. And perfection is the enemy of the good. 80% is fine. One thing that I really wish had been I just wish it had been something I learned when I was a kid. But perfection was the thing that I learned. And I have to get over that too. It was basically beat into me. 80% is fine, because a lot of times, if all you do is work on perfection, you'll never actually get it done. So the next thing is the next step, the follow-up. I started the thing, I wrote it out. What I will probably do maybe, I don't know, is start a new document instead of using the same document, but keep the same document open. And then just start writing out the follow-up. Maybe that works. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. It all depends on the person. There is no one hard, fast rule when it comes to writing, except for just write. You need to write. You have to write if you want to write. And so tomorrow, I will continue it. I've done it today. I recorded it. I edited the recording. What I need to do with each, the finished version of both. And I already know that the voice stuff needs to be redone, but it doesn't matter. It's done. The next step needs to be done. Because I'm going to take this back a little bit. One of the things about other people helping you is that they have to see that you're doing the work. You can't just be like, okay, if you're out on the road and your car's broken down, and you just have your hood up, and you're just kind of in your car, people are less likely to help you. Minus certain circumstances, where like Alaska and Montana and other places like that, where population is much more sparse, and so people aren't going to be getting nearly as much help, or their help will take a lot longer, even if they're going to be calling in services and the like, just because of the sheer lack of population density. And so a lot of people will help just because they happen to see a car on the side of the road. But that isn't an apropos comparison to what I'm about to be doing. I'm going to be in a broken car, quote unquote, that's going to be getting passed by a lot of vehicles. And I've got to basically call up the right service to get help. But in the process, I need to show that I've been doing the work in order to really get the proper help that I need. Because if I just call up a ghostwriter, yeah, they might do something, but there's a chance that there's a much higher chance they'll work with me if I've already put in a decent amount of effort to give them something to work off of. Otherwise, you're basically doing the whole like Diane thing from BoJack Horseman, where she just shows up and it's like, all right, watch my life. That might work for a popular actor who is washed up, but not some random dude. People notice when you've been putting in the work. And so that's what I'm going to do. And tomorrow, I don't know how much I'm going to write. The only reason that I even have a recording this week, or today, is because what I wrote was already more like 70 to 80% compared to what it is now. And what it is now is probably more like 70 or 80% of what it needs to be, or what it might be next. Who knows? I may need to flesh some things out. I may need to expand more. I may need to expound more. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not a writer. I'm definitely not a good one. But if I just start writing stuff and it sounds like me, and then I record myself and that sounds good, then what I can do is I can just do the same thing and produce more and more clips, and maybe that'll create a feedback loop of me doing more and more work. Maybe, I don't know, by the end of September, I will have a decent amount of work for somebody to really go through and be like impressed enough with. Again, this is me really overselling myself and my ability to do stuff. This is the 99.999 likelihood of percentage of things I might do whereas I'm closer usually around the 10 or 15% mark. We'll see. I'm by no means saying, however, that I will have a book written by the end of September. No. That ain't fucking happening. You can't... You know, it's funny. When it comes to, like, working out, and it's also going to be relevant in that regard, too, shortly, but... I never had the appropriate response until now when it comes to, you know, like, especially women. Because, like, one of the girls that I used to know from PCC, she asked me at one point, you know, she wanted to start working out, but she didn't want to get, you know, like, all jacked and muscly looking. And I didn't have the quip, the witty quip to say to her then as I would now, but, like, you can't write a book by accident. You know, you can't become Mr. Universe by accident, or Mrs. Universe, whatever the actual title is, I don't know. But you can't do these things by accident, because you have to put focus into it. And the same thing goes with working out. Working out requires quite a bit of focus to get to that level. She's talking about, you know, when people talk about that, or they have that insecurity that they might get too bulky or too muscly, they don't understand the necessary focus and the steroids to get there. You can't become ripped to shreds by accident. It takes a fuck ton of effort. It's dietary. It's like you're crunching all the numbers when it comes to your caloric intake and your protein intakes, you know, your macros and your micros, and you know, and when it comes to what exercises you're doing, so that you're not necessarily, you know, you're not starving yourself so that your muscles can grow, but at the same time you're trying to starve off the fat and the this and the that, and you know, and then there's, you know, like a lot of it, when you see it, they're dehydrated as fuck. Which is another thing that people don't think about. There's so many factors that go into just looking super muscly and rock hard and all that shit. The average woman will never look like that, no matter what. Like, they can go work out 3 hours a day for the rest of their life and still not look like that. Because that 3 hours could just be on the treadmill. Or it could be an hour on the treadmill and an hour swimming, or whatever it may be. You have to live that life. It can't be 3 hours a day. It has to be 24 hours a day. That is your life if you want to look like that. Well, you can't accidentally write a novel. You know, I listen to Hank and John all the time, Dear Hank and John. And John, and you know, like, I get to portions where he's got to go on a sabbatical for like a month because he's finishing a book. It's like he's got towards his deadline, and he has a thing he needs to do. That thing might be one individual conceptual goal, like finishing a book, but within that is literally days upon days upon days upon days of staying in a place away from his family, away from distractions, and just working on the book. And it's like, the man's a machine, considering what that takes and how many fucking books he's put out. It's ridiculous. It's impressive. And it's like, I'm writing a book about myself. The one subject that I know more about than anything else. And that's going to take a shit ton of work anyway. And so I'm hanging my hopes up onto a future that is so absolutely uncertain. There is absolutely no way I could ever get a book written, even a first draft, in a month. I mean, even if you wrote for 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, for 4 weeks, you aren't necessarily going to get all your ideas fleshed out. You might have 30 of them. You probably will. I know that anytime I start writing or talking about my life, I start thinking about other aspects of my life that, while associated, are not part of the actual talking point. Same thing with these videos. I go on tangents. And to me, they're relevant, but they're not necessarily relevant to an audience. And that is who you're really talking to. Let me rephrase that. That's who you're writing for. You're not writing for yourself. Sure, you can put yourself into that group, but you're writing for a specific audience. One of the things that I should do is pick up my phone and listen to more of the audiobooks that I have purchased that are autobiographical. I have like Trevor Noah's and Michelle Obama's and Barack Obama's and Joe Biden's and I think I have Gabrielle Union's. I can't remember. I have like 4. I've got at least 5 to 8, maybe something like that. And I haven't listened to any of them except for a little bit of Obama's and a good chunk of Trevor Noah's. So that would be a good starting point for me to have those running. Main thing is they're like 15 plus hours long. And you know how much I recorded and edited down to today? And I'm going to tell you, this ain't, like, this section could definitely be expanded upon. I'm not, and it's just a minor intro. But it's only like 8 minutes. Maybe 9. That's it. It's not even 15, which isn't even a good stand-up routine. And at the same time, it's also not a good stand-up routine because it's not 5 minutes. And that's another thing. It's like, sometimes you need to take something that's longer than you think. Like, you think it's long enough, but it's actually too long, and you got to shorten it. One of the things that I've heard about from writers, in one capacity or another, is that the hardest types of stories to write are short stories. Because you have a very specific type of limitation that you're putting on yourself. And I mean, I'm basically trying to write multiple short stories about myself and my life and the world around it. And I can't just spill the beans about what happened. I have to tell people about who I am in the process. And that's a different thing than just giving you the details. Obviously, how you tell it is part of it, which is also why I'm trying to make sure that I have enough content to record. And the way that I can see it, simply enough, is if I've written enough of a block that it extends, like if I have to scroll to see more of it, it's probably enough to at least record one time, do some trimming, and then, have that loaded. But here's the thing. I cannot approach it like it will help save me financially. I'll be right back. Because I've got conservatively 2 months of rent available. The third one is for necessary expenditures and or potential emergency funds, or even just things I need to fucking make myself sane. I might go to the fucking aquarium or some shit. I don't know. I still haven't gone. I haven't gone to the Natural History Museum. There's places that I still haven't gone to since I've been living here in early 2012. You know, La Brea Tar Pits, never stepped foot at it. You know, I've been at the and I mean, those things are pieces of information that can be expounded upon in the book if I write it. And you know, I may have to stop trying to write linearly and write about a thing that has happened at another time in order to get it out and then get back to the point. You know, I don't know. That's why I'm probably gonna end up with multiple documents. It's just word bad, but still. And I don't want to stress myself out over it either. Like, since I know that I cannot get it taken care of in a time, like, if I'm lucky enough to have 5 to 10, and this is shooting for the stars, as it were, 5 to 10 7, 8, 9, 10 minute recordings by the end of next month, I will be doing phenomenally well. If I'm lucky to have, I'll be lucky to have 5. And knowing me, I'll get like 1 or 2 more down, and I'll be like, this is fucking easy. I can do this again. And then what I'll write and record is going to be absolute garbage. So, but yeah, I mean, you know, slow and steady wins the race. The race is against yourself. That's the title. And I mean, it's just, I can't beat myself up over it. I've only just begun to even put pen to paper, if you want to call it that. And I mean, I want to take a trip back to like fucking Oceanside, and I want to actually put pen to paper down. You know, I want to use the time that I've got in the next 2 months to at least do a couple of things that I've been wanting to do or do again, because the opportunity is available. I also need to clean up more. I need to throw away some stuff more. So there's a lot of stuff that I should be doing, and there's a lot of stuff that I want to do, and I feel like I should also be doing them at the same time. Like, they need to be incorporated into my life one way, and that part of it is writing the story about myself. Even if it never gets published, even if it just sits on a computer server for the rest of eternity until the servers disintegrate from, you know, just not existing anymore or whatever. Will I make money on my story? Not likely. Sure, it's interesting. I've got a lot of really interesting bits and pieces in it. But there's only so much that can be done. And I can't think of anything else other than just trying to belabor whatever, so have fun.